Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Woo-hoo-hoo. I'm doing something I haven't done in quite some time. I'm actually batch recording the next 3 podcast episodes. So if I sound a little loopy by the one you're going to hear 2 or 3 weeks from now, please forgive me because we're doing this all in one. But if you're new around here, welcome to the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Rita M. Perez. I am just so grateful that you're here. And also, if you've been sharing out the podcast, super huge thank you, because I cannot be everywhere. And so I very much appreciate when you share this podcast episode or just the podcast in general with any and all of your travel friends within the industry, because it helps get all this goodness to more people, which just makes this industry a little bit better. At least that's what I feel, giving you tangible, concrete information on becoming a better business owner here every single week with new episodes every single Friday. I feel like the next 2 episodes are going to be really personal type episodes, because I'm going to share a little bit about my journey. And then the next episode, I'm going to get down to some real talk with you all. So today we're going to talk about my blogging challenge that I unofficially gave myself in November. Then we're going to talk about some wins and losses that'll be coming up live next week. And then the following week, talking about niching down and getting really specific with the people that you serve, because I recently posted like a little survey / audit thingy on or question on Instagram, and I didn't get some of the best answers. So I want to break that down to help equip you to be better equipped for 2026 when we're thinking about that niche, that specialty. Who do you serve? Where are you going to find them? So buckle up. I hope you're super ready for the blogging challenge, which it is funny because when I look at the dates of things, the last time I had written a blog before I decided I was going to do this unofficial blogging challenge was in the summer. And if you're new around here, Summer and me, we're not friends this year. You'll find out more about that if you haven't already in next week's podcast episode. But one of the really great things that did happen in the summer was summer camp at sea. So I did want to give you an invite to join us at summer camp at sea. If you are one that you keep saying that you have to do X, Y, and Z for your business, and you never do X, Y, and Z for your business, you kind of need to be at Summer Camp at Sea. It is my week-long working retreat, and it is on a cruise ship, obviously, because it says at sea. So this year we're going to be heading off to Alaska, but this is not like any other sort of fam. And I know I do a lot of work with like marketing fams also, which there's a little bit of component like that also, but this is not a fam. This is not just about marketing. This is also about getting stuff done. Will you technically have a site inspection? Of course, because we're testing out a new ship. Will you get marketing assets? Of course, because it wouldn't be a trip with me if we didn't get marketing assets with you in them. But you're also going to be checking off your to-do list. Like, this is the only event of its kind where you are checking off your to-do list, not just adding onto it. This is not a conference. This is not a workshop. When we have our conference-y type days, like when we have our working days, you're bringing your laptop, your notebook, your calendar. You are logging into the Wi-Fi if you're not already logged into the Wi-Fi, and whatever list you have for that day, because we have different themes of days. Like we have an email day, we have a CRM day, we have a marketing day. You're working on something related to that theme. There's also like a website section of one of the days. So if you hate that you keep procrastinating on stuff and it never happens, this is the one place. Like, many of us work in our own silos by ourselves within like the 4 walls of our homes or wherever that might be. This is the one place where we get to be together working on business, not just learning about business, but actually working on business. This was so great last year when we did it because we all held each other accountable. There's also like nowhere to hide when we're all in the same rooms. Like, you gotta work, we gotta do the things. And so if that has been like a major pain point for you, you've got to be there with us. Not only that, but if you just want to be with your peers, being able to shoot all the things together and be like, oh my gosh, can you believe that this happened? Like, we can't have those water cooler conversations when we're working all separately from home. So that was also one of the really fun things. Now, I will also say this is not all work, no play. There is definitely a lot of play and a lot of downtime, because this also would not be an event that I would put my name on if it was just 24/7 work. So don't think that you're not going to have fun, because you're definitely going to have some fun. If you want to check out more of the details, you can head on over to the link below in the show description, because we would love to see you there. It is limited, so once we reach the cap, I'm thinking about like 35, because I want to make sure we keep this also a very intimate experience. A lot because I want to get to know you and what you do within your business and see how I can help you and provide guidance while we're on this. And I can't do that with a lot of people. Also, I want to make sure that we get really great content with you in it. We were just having a marketing business school call earlier this week, and somebody had mentioned, like, my husband's going to think I'm crazy for wanting to take this type of picture. So it's easier if I just go to summer camp at sea, where I know you guys will be like super like boosting me to take these pictures. So if you need that too, if you don't have an Instagram hubby or an Instagram partner, we are that for you while we're on this trip. It's totally about teamwork. So I can't wait for you to join us at summer camp at sea this year. But alas, let's dig in. So picture this. What is it? 19 whatever she used to say. Picture this. It was Sicily, 1947. Summer of 2025. Before I had gotten sick and my health was like, we're not going to participate with you anymore. I was very committed to working on my blog. And when I say my blog, it is the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast blog.com. It doesn't say the blog. It's just Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast.com. I originally started the blog. I had the idea to repurpose all of my podcast content into a blog at the end of 2023, when I first met/was introduced to Nina Clapperton, who is the person I go to for anything when it comes to blogging. And so I have made some investments into her programs. I'll link them up down below. Coincidentally, she is running a promotion on many of her items, and she's doing bundles. Like, this was not planned, but if some of what I'm talking about, you want to learn a little bit more, I'm going to point you in Nina's direction, because she is going to be super helpful for you in that regard when it comes to blogging. So I made some investments at the beginning of 2024 for her programs to learn about like SEO and keyword research and doing this the right thing, especially if I wanted to make money from my blog, because why would I be doing this if there wasn't going to be some sort of outcome at the end of this? I had not been able to get into like somewhat of a consistent workflow when it came to blogging. And this is part of why I mentioned to you to get consistent with one aspect of macro content, whether that's video, whether that's podcasting, or whether that's writing like blogging, because especially when you're doing something new, it takes a while to like get consistent with it, figure out what your systems, what your workflow is going to be, and then get that kind of being second nature. I did not think that was going to be what would I say, like a symptom of doing this unofficial blogging challenge, but that's kind of what happened. But again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So I have not been consistent with that blog since it started. I remember, I think I wanted to do like 5 blogs I wanted to work on chunks of 5 blogs in a row and then post them all together and kind of do consistency with that. Well, that obviously never worked because I feel like once I had the time or the spur of the moment to be working on my blog, I would do it, but that momentum would never keep up. Like it would be months and months and months. Like I think I was still sitting at probably 20 something blog posts when I decided to like get really serious about my blog back in June. And then life was like, ha ha ha, you're getting serious about this, but this is not the right time for you to be serious about this. So lots of health stuff and already other things that I had on the calendar put a pin in me working on my blog yet again. And I remember from Nina's teachings, like your blog can't gain traction until like you've gone deep into certain subjects. And with 20-ish blog posts, like my website was not going to gain traction no matter like what SEO and stuff that I had done on it. So I knew that I needed to go deeper. Like I needed to have more blog posts, and I have consistently heard, depending on the niche, but it sounds like 75 to 100 blog posts is when you start developing that traction. And traction to me means that you're starting to get like a lot of views on your website and a lot of views on your page. Views can also mean like if you've done the blogging strategically that you're also starting to get like people on your email list. You're getting people to buy any services that you might offer as well. So I was like, okay, thinking in November, and I say this was an unofficial blog challenge because I think 3 days into November, I was like, I think I want to do a blogging challenge. I'm just going to work on a blog a day. I don't know exactly what it was that possessed me to do this. I just knew that I had to stop pooping in the pot. Like I had to stop dragging my feet on working on this darn blog because I knew that the results that I wanted to have, one, I wasn't experiencing this year because 2025, what a roller coaster ride this has been, right? And 2, I wasn't blogging with consistency, which was totally on me. And I had to figure out how to do it. So I was like, okay, well, if I do a blog a day, which should be super easy to do because I have so much time on my hands, that is sarcasm. It will put me in a much better spot than I'm at if I'm able to essentially double the amount of posts in November of what's on my blog. So that is what the unofficial challenge was, is that I was going to write a blog post every single day in November. Spoiler alert, that did not happen. And I was even like trying to double up. There were a couple days that I was able to work on 2 blog posts in a day. And then the poopeth hitteth the fireth. Mid-November, as I was starting to get very stressed out about things, both personally and professionally. I was having a lot of I was having so much stress. Guess who went back to therapy after at least a year? You got that right. It's me. So yeah, after at least like a year or 2 of not having been to therapy, there were a lot of things that were starting to come up that I was like, I have got to get professional support. I need professional help with this. So I did not complete my goal, but I'm actually fine with it because of this kind of like mental health stress that I was experiencing. I needed to prioritize that over everything else. So I was fine. I thought I ended up with 20 blog posts, but it looks like if I'm counting correctly, I ended up with 19 blog posts, which is great because that means that I have like really, I've doubled the capacity that's on my blog site. The other reason why I wanted to get this done, like if I'm thinking about this big time, January is a big push. Like a lot of stuff, like at the end of the year, everybody's kind of like pushing things to the side. So I was like, if I can get these blog posts done in November, they should start being indexed and showing up in Google search results by the time January, February comes around. And everybody's going to be searching for the things that are on my blog because, again, I am repurposing podcast content into blog content. So I'm not starting from square one. So there were a couple metrics that I started like taking a look at. I thought I could write a blog post even using AI to help me in an hour. I'm so silly. I factored in that it was probably taking me closer to like between 2 and 3 hours. And I think like a lot of this is also going to depend on like how many words I need. And I know how many words that I need to be writing based on the keyword research. And the program that I use for keyword research is Key Search. It's something that Nina highly recommends. So again, like I am the novice, like I'm the newbie when it comes to blogging. So I'm following what Nina tells me. And it's just a really, really great tool when it comes to keyword research and then also figuring out how things need to be structured and planned out. So I was able to get that data. And I was also able to figure out a couple of things about myself. So a couple other points of data as I'm looking at my notes here. One of the other big goals is that I wanted to be sure that I was done with any and all 2021 podcast episodes by the end of 2025. So I'm happy to report that I am done with all of the 2021 podcast episodes to go up on the blog. There were two that there were technically, I guess, 3-ish weeks that I skipped. One podcast episode I skipped because in 2021, when I started podcasting, my grandmother passed away. And so I hadn't like built up enough content to kind of like keep me through, like even if I needed to be out of office. So I just recorded something really quick and I'm like, I don't need to make a blog post about this because this does not have any helpful and useful information to you as my reader. I also was able to kind of look that 2022, I have started on a couple because since I did the original 9 in the challenge in December, I've also been able to write 5 so far in December. So not keeping up with my challenge numbers, but I am okay with that because since this challenge happened, I would love to be able to like get to a point where I'm able to like write 20 blog posts a month. But kind of seeing like that now 20 blog posts a month might be a little ambitious. So it might be a little bit closer to like 15 blog posts a month is where I might get to. So we're going to see. It's a little bit of trial and error because I originally wanted to get, I think if I had gotten to 57 blog posts, that would have meant that I did my 30. And I didn't get there because then I was like, okay, well, if I can get 57 done by the end of November, then I want to have that target 75 done by the end of December. And we now know that's not going to happen. So the other blog posts that I kind of skipped / decided not to do because they weren't going to be helpful. I did a Thanksgiving episode, which was pretty much just saying Happy Thanksgiving in 2021. Similar for Christmas. I just said Merry Christmas in that episode. So I felt like those weren't going to be worthwhile to reproduce as blog posts. So I skipped that. So currently with the blog posts that I have, I am right now, as of today, as of this recording, I'm at episode 51 on the podcast, which means there's only like 49 actual episodes that are, or maybe 48 now that I'm thinking about it, blog posts that are up on the website. So I'm definitely going to hit 50. I'm going to get over that because I think after I record, I'm going to do another blog post here. A cool thing, interesting thing to also note is that 2022 will have less blog posts than 2021 because I recorded more podcasts in 2021 than I did 2022. I remember I was very inconsistent with podcasting in 2022, and then I was able to get back on the road of consistency. And consistent for me means one episode every single week. So that was not happening in 2022, which is why there's less blog posts. So I'm like, ooh, I can probably finish 2022 in a couple of months since there's not as many blog posts to be doing for them. So as I kind of mentioned, I started blogging in 2024, and it's just really been a huge thorn in my side because I haven't been able to figure out that flow. So while the big goal for this unofficial blogging challenge was to get the 30 posts done, I didn't make that goal. But I feel like what I got out of my challenge was a little bit better than that because I am extremely motivated. Like, I have given myself finally, after almost 2 years, the roadmap of being consistent. I'm also starting to see results, even with as little blog posts that I had on the website. Is that, and I posted this on LinkedIn, I've pretty much at least doubled the views on my website comparing numbers from last year to this year. I pretty much double the amount of views that I have on my website, the amount of sessions that are on my website, which is amazing. And I say at least because I feel like it's more than that. And that really helps motivate me because the more people that have access to the educational content that go on that blog, again, the better business owners that we're going to be creating, the better we're going to, like, I feel like we can be such a force in this industry with just the power of really great education. And that's like what really fuels me. And that's why I started the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur podcast, was to bring quality education and quality resources to the travel industry that I wasn't seeing open at that time. Like, it was talked about in smaller arenas, and now it's talked about in bigger arenas, which is amazing. Part of me even starting the blog also is to get some of that passive-ish income. The initial goal with the blog was to get to a point where I was getting so many views that I could get added to one of the ad sites, which is like a Mediavine or a Raptive, which is why I went through Nina's way, because like if you have a Squarespace or a Show It site, you can't get on some of these like ad webs, like you can't add ads to your website if it's built on some of these. So with her direction, I kind of built a whole new website for my business, which I really didn't have a central place. So it's cool to have that there now. But through some of what Nina's finding out too, like if somebody like me, I have a lot of like services and programs. If I get to a certain level, you might be making more revenue based on your services and programs than you do on ads. So that's kind of what I'm focused on now, is that I would love to, between like affiliate income and my programs and services that I can showcase on the website and getting people to get added to my email list, that I could monetize that way and not have to put ads on the website. We'll see. Because I know even like thinking about YouTubing, if that is an avenue that you want to try, and I know a lot of people want to do it because of the ad money that you can get from YouTube. There's somebody that I know from family history that I did not know that she had to monetize, and really she's got like 30,000 followers, and she's got a very like lifestyle crafty type of YouTube channel. She says she by far makes more revenue from like brand deals and things like that, and like ads don't even touch the amount of money that she can make with those types of partnerships. So it's not just a blogging thing that ads aren't really, like, you can make revenue, but it's just not the same, especially since AI has kind of like changed that world. What I'm really interested to see though is that it seems because AI is so not great at giving out factual and real information, is like we saw like a dip in people like using search engines. I feel like people might be going back to using search engines because AI is so unreliable. So where like 2025 I feel kind of like experienced a dip, and people were saying like, oh, blogging is dead. Blogging is definitely not dead. It's just people are searching different ways. Because I know there's a lot of people that are saying in 2025 that search through social media is also going to be a big thing. And this is why TikTok is so successful, because they have such an amazing algorithm and they have such really great search. Some of the others, Meta, needs to get on board with that. Between Meta, Facebook, and Instagram, needs to get better at that. But I feel like Meta is just money hungry and tone deaf, because their latest updates is that they don't want, if you have a business page and you're not verified, they're going to ding your post if you add a link to the post. And it's over like 2 links that you've posted. And I'm like, you are just making it harder for people to do business on your platform. Like, there's a lot of people who don't want to use your platform because you make it so hard. Whereas other platforms like TikTok, which I'm not active, like I don't have an account on TikTok, and YouTube are not. They're very like content creator friendly. Side quest in there. So, side quest there where I went down a tangent of just the future. So going back to what I was saying is that I'm motivated because I'm seeing results happening in my blog from the efforts. I feel like if I wasn't seeing results from my blog efforts, I'd be very frustrated. And I don't know that I would continue working on the blog, but I'm keeping on working on the blog. One of the frustrations, and something that takes a bulk of that 2 to 3 hours that I mentioned that I kind of figured is what it takes me to work on a blog post. Keyword research. Keyword research is a bee. Oh my goodness. When you're trying to be super strategic. And I say this too because it's not just that you have to pick a keyword. You have to be strategic with your keyword. Like, you can't just say vacations in France, because if vacations in France is a very popular keyword and has been used quite often, that is going to make it much harder for you as a beginner blogger to gain any traction using that keyword. And that's why keyword research is important, because you can find other keywords that are similar but different and that maybe don't have as much volume or as much competition as some of the most popular ones. This is how smaller bloggers, as I know from what Nina's mentioned, this is how smaller bloggers like myself and like you and like us can gain some traction, is by using less competitive and less volume of keywords. But sometimes sometimes I'm able to like nail the keyword that I want to use. Like, I have a suggestion, I have a thought in my mind, I run it through key search, and I'm like, boom, it meets all the parameters that it needs to meet between like CPC numbers, and then also like making sure that a lot of people haven't been used it. So it's volume, it's competition. There's a couple different things that I look at. But then there's the times that I'm like, this is a really great keyword, and it's like, nope, too many people are using it. You can't use it. It's not going to be good for you. Or, nope, nobody's searching for this keyword, so there's no point in writing an article with that being your main keyword, because it won't be found. It's kind of like writing an empty post. And I'm like, well, if I'm spending all this time doing all this research, I do not want that either. So I feel like it is a very fine science having to pick your main keyword and then doing the competitive research to figure out what are some supplementary keywords. So when I'm writing my blog posts, I'm making sure that my keyword, my main keyword, is written 4 times. It's going to be in the title. It's going to be in the first introduction like paragraph. And then it's also going to be in the first header after the intro paragraph. Then it can also be somewhere in the rest of the article. I also make sure that it is in the URL of the article. Now, my URLs are a little bit, or at least the titles of my posts are a little bit special, because if I have a guest, I do include the guest name, and I want to make sure that you're going to the right article. So I also put the episode name. Because I'm doing this strategically for blogging, the podcast name and the podcast episode title and the blog title typically are not the same. They're similar, but they're not, because I had to be a little bit more strategic. So I add the episode title or the episode number to kind of just be an easy identifier that, yes, you're on the right blog post, or yes, you've got the right episode too. If I mention like, hey, go to episode 42 or something like that. Another thing that I kind of learned through this process, so I'm just sharing some of my learnings, and keyword research is the bulk of that. So I kind of have laid out like where I'm adding in my keywords. Before I even move over. So I was mentioning I have my main keyword, then there's also supplementary keywords. Those are the words that I try and keep like just one time. And those are the words that I'm trying to look for during that competitive research. Like, what should those words be? So I make sure there's certain words, like if I'm talking about travel advisor, travel agent, I know that there is way too much competition and value for those words. So I'm not trying to be found for those words, but I might look more at, like, I think one of my keywords I recently used. Do I want to share with you? I don't know if I want to tell everybody all the keyword. Maybe that's not like a strategic thing. So I'm going to keep that close to me now. But long tail keywords are going to be really, really helpful. So instead of just using like one word or two words, like using some sort of phrase, like 4 to 5 words. I know 4 words is pretty good when it comes to that. So yeah, I might keep my keywords a little bit closer to my vest, because that's a little bit of competitive. That's like insider secrets there. Now, I'm telling you that I'm adding all of this information in. When I first started blogging and with these keywords, I would have AI write the article, and then I would afterwards, so it would take me much longer to write articles, then I would stick in my keywords wherever it made sense. No. I had already polished up my blogging prompt to include this. So it's included in my prompt where I say like, okay, here's my main keyword. You need to put this 3 more times, and it needs to be in these different areas. Then I will tell it, these are all of my secondary keywords. You just need to use these once. You don't need to use these multiple times, and only use it where it makes sense, because there's some times where those supplementary keywords, like it wants to use it and it just doesn't make sense. So I use Claude to write my blog posts. I've been using this to write my blog posts since I have been blogging, because I just find that it writes a little bit better. I know sometimes Claude can be a little bit controversial, but I feel like all of the AIs can be a little bit controversial. So just full transparency, I had been using a cleaned up version of my prompt, and my prompt is hefty. Like it probably fills out a whole page of a Google Doc, is why it's so hefty. But I have like what the structure needs to be, what the tone needs to be, what it needs to make sure, like my word count, how much my word count needs to be based on what I've decided what my word count is going to be based on the research that I've done in key search. So I was able to like structure out my prompts a lot better, because I was getting kind of frustrated sometimes with what would come out. I still get a little bit frustrated because AI is only good to a certain point, I feel. So, and some of the things that I get frustrated still on is where I will say, write me a max of a 2,500 word blog post, and it will write me 3,500 words. And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Like, this is too many. So I get frustrated with that. I also get frustrated with my main keyword, because I'm very specific where I say that I need it to be, and it will still forget to do that. So those are some of the things, even though I have a really great prompt, I still have to check for. So as soon as I run the prompt through Claude, I immediately copy and add it into word counter so that I can see, like, did it get the word count right? It's been getting better, actually, now that I've asked it, like, how do I get you to do better on word count? So it has been getting better there. And then I will do like a function F on my keyboard to find my main keyword and make sure it's written the amount of times that I need it written and in the places that I've told it I need it written in. So those are still things that have to happen. Once I have run it through Claude, so it is using the transcript of the podcast to make the blog post. I love this because it saves me so much time, but it uses my original words. It uses my original zone of genius from the episode as well as my guest if I do happen to have a guest on the episode. It doesn't create things out of the blue. Sometimes it did do that in the beginning, but again, I've worked on my prompt to kind of like ironclad that so it doesn't like make up things anymore. In the beginning of my blogging challenge, I was reading and making edits as needed, and then I would read again a second time and edit as needed. That was taking me extra time, so I've kind of decided to give myself grace and go with imperfection, like I always mentioned, and I'm like, I'm just going to go through a run through one time. If it needs to make edits, and I do that too, because the important thing right now is that the information needs to get out there. It is more important for me to write a really good piece of education for you now than for you to keep waiting like another 2 years for me to put that out. That's not going to help you in your business right now, but it will help you in your business today if I'm able to put out a version that I'm not 100%, but it's like good enough. It's B plus work, and that is good enough for me. So I kind of like dropped that a little bit of perfectionism in there. One of the things that I had also thought to do as I was like getting ready for this unofficial challenge was that I had thought I was going to pay somebody off of Fiverr. Because I'm repurposing content from the podcast, I want to make sure that the podcast on different platforms is linked. So if you find the blog post and you're like, I don't want to read this, I just want to listen to the episode, it is super easy for you to listen to the episode from the blog post. I thought that it took me a lot of time to get the links, and I get 6 links. So I'm linking up YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and then Podlink, which is pretty much a link. Like if somebody doesn't have those apps, they can find the app that they listen to the podcast and listen to the podcast on their app. I also have a link to the transcript. And I get the transcript from my AI Cast Magic, and I'm just able to link it up. It is AI. It's not a perfect transcript. There are things that are misspelled or mislabeled, but it is better than not having anything. So it makes the podcast like even more accessible. That legit maybe takes me 5 to 10 minutes. So when I thought about it, I'm like, especially if it's taking me 2 or 3 hours for a blog post, for me, it just did not make sense to hire somebody else out to do some of this if it takes me like minutes compared to hours, because I thought it took me a lot longer than that to get all these links. So I decided against that. And then, of course, I did mention the last kind of like note that I have here is that I did have to pivot. Like I was gung-ho. I think there was a convergence of different stresses that were happening back in November when I was working on this. People in my life were changing plans at the last minute, and that was just making me even more stressed out. I was having stress from doing this challenge because I was having to flex a muscle that I didn't have, and now I feel like I have a little bit of a baby muscle, which is nice, but that was also stressing me out. My partner was moving in with me, which is a whole other stress on its own. Plus, there were other things confounded in there. So all this stress was building up. Personal stress, but also a little bit professional. And I was like, I can't do this, and I'm going to have to be okay that I can't do this, because if I prioritize getting those 30 posts, it is going to hurt me more than it is going to help me at this current state that I am in. And so I also started, as I mentioned, started going back to a therapy and just started talking about some of these things that had started coming up in life. And it just, I'm in a much better place because I didn't hold myself to that. And I think you have to also give yourself grace on things, because life is just going to life and we can never predict. If that is the theme of 2025, I don't know what is that life is going to life and we can never predict when these things are going to happen. So you have to be kind to yourself. You have to be flexible and malleable. If things need to change, allow them to change. Don't be hard-headed. And I say that, me being a Taurus, we're very stubborn. We do not like change. So that's also a muscle that I feel like you need to flex and you need to build and you need to practice, because I know there's many of you who are very similar. Like, no, I'm going to do it. I said I was going to do it. I'm going to follow through on it. And sometimes you don't. And it's okay that you don't follow through on it, because there's other things that are more important in your life than sticking to like a fun, stupid project side challenge that you created for yourself. So I know I kind of went a little bit everywhere, which is what I normally do, but I hope that this was helpful. It gave you a lot of insights when it comes to blogging and how I'm thinking about blogging. And again, if what I was talking to you would sound like a foreign language, but you're wanting to learn a little bit more about blogging, I'm going to link my affiliate link to Nina's resources. She will walk you through step by step of starting a blog, doing keyword research and all of that through lots of her various programs. She's also super keen on AI, so she has many different like custom GPTs to help you with writing and things like that. So it's definitely worth taking a look at what she has to offer to see if this would be helpful for you and your travel business, especially since many of you might be taking some downtime during the holidays too. This might be really great to start up, or at least like listen and learn on a little bit more. But let me know what you thought about all of my insights to my unofficial stupid little silly. I say stupid, but this was an incredibly helpful, because instead of like every time I have to make a blog post, I'm so excited to work on the blog. Like, talking to you right now about the blog makes me want to be like, oh, maybe, I mean, you're on episode 51 right now, but maybe you should do episode 52 tonight and finish it up. So also, here's a plug for you. Like, if you haven't read any of the articles, head on over to the strategictravelentrepreneur.podcast.com and check out some of the articles that I've been working on. The earlier ones, like I would say maybe up to like 13, 14, 15, not so great because I didn't get my prompt perfect or like where I wanted, but they're up there. They do sound probably more AI than my more recent ones where I've been able to like put more of my voice into it, because while AI does spit out the article to me based on the podcast, so based on my original content, I do have to clean it up here or there because I don't like the way it says something, or like I would never say something that way. Or I also want to give like a personal insight into something. That's part of something that I have written in my prompt also, is like, if you think that there's relevant stories, please ask me for relevant stories, and I will give you like the backstory or the insights that will help make this blog post even better. So, and I think like that really helps to add in a little bit more of my personality. But yep, that was my learnings from my unofficial blogging challenge of 2025. I don't know that I would do this again. Like, maybe if I were going to do it again, it would have to be like in a down month. So I possibly like April, May-ish, but I'm not sure. I think just having a goal to have like 15 done every single day, I might be able to catch up and be up to date by the end of next year, but it may take me a little while because we're over 200 episodes here, so it's going to take me some time, and I'm giving myself grace on that as well because I started this project really late and then I've been dragging my feet on it. So here we go. But you all have a wonderful weekend. I will see you back here next week with a super juicy episode. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.